chief chief editor, and to speak on behalf of a journal that in just over a decade has grown from a promising initiative into a firmly established node in the global infrastructure of musicological research. So, Rast Muzikoloji founded in 2013 and now publishing 4 issues each year in March, June, September, and December. Rast Muzikoloji Journal is an international English language peer-reviewed journal based in Turkey, but oriented unequivocally toward the world. Our aim has been consistent to provide a rigorous, ethically grounded platform for research that takes music seriously as sound, as culture, as history, as practice, as human experience. Where Rast Muzikoloji Journal stands today, if I say a couple of words, Rast was conceived as a broad yet intellectually demanding form for musicology in all its plural forms: historical and systematic musicology, ethnomusicology and comparative musicology, Western art music and popular musics, Eastern and Middle Eastern traditions, and of course Turkic and Ottoman musics. We deliberately positioned ourselves at the intersection of regional expertise and the global discourse, inviting scholarship that speaks both from particular musical worlds and to the wider field. Over the years, the vision has been recognized by the research ecosystem, actually. Today, Rast is indexed in Scopus, currently classified as Q3 in its subject category, in RILM, EBSCO Music Index Full Text, ERIH Plus, and several other national and international indices and databases. This matters not because indices define quality, but because they attest that the work of our authors is discoverable, citable, and woven into the broader scholarly conversation. Our content is preserved through robust digital archiving solutions such as LOCKSS and the Dergi Park system, which is based in the Turkey, ensuring that the scholarship you entrust to us is not only visible now, but durable in the long term. But openness without rigor would be meaningless. Over the past 3 years, our acceptance rate has declined from around 3/4 of submissions in 2022 to roughly 1/3 in 2024. This is not a sign of hostility to authors. It is evidence that we are making increasingly difficult editorial choices and insisting on higher levels of conceptual clarity, methodological robustness, and ethical integrity. We strive to be not merely a venue for publication, but a filter and a catalyst for serious musicological work. Our editorial and ethical framework is built on the guidelines and experience of Committee on Publication Ethics. We operate a double-blind review system, requires similarity checks via tools such as Turnitin or Authenticate, and treat plagiarism, ghost authorship, excessive self-citation, and data fabrication as serious violations with clear consequences. We maintain an ethics unit to evaluate complex cases, from copyright and performance rights in musical works to research involving human participants and vulnerable populations, guided by documents such as the Declaration of Helsinki and Belmont Report. Rast has also moved early to address one of the defining issues of our time: the role of artificial intelligence in scholarly writing. Our AI transparency declaration requires authors to explicitly mark and describe AI-assisted sections, forbids listing AI as an author, and considers undisclosed AI use a form of misleading conduct that may result in a publication ban. This is not a technophobia, by the way. It's a commitment to academic honesty and to the idea that the intellectual responsibility for an article must rest with human researchers. All of these, our indexing, our open access model, our ethical commitments, has recently been recognized by the inclusion of Rast Muzikoloji Journal in ERIH Plus, further confirming its status as a scholarly journal that meets international standards of editorial quality and peer reviews. So why Rust matters to the field? If we take a step back, what is distinctive about Rust in the global landscape of musicology? First, we refuse the false choice between regional focus and international relevance. We actively welcome research on Turkish, Ottoman, and broader Middle Eastern traditions, while insisting that such work be theoretically and methodologically legible to the wider field. Second, we cultivate methodological pluralism with standards. Qualitative, archival, ethnographic, analytical, experimental, and computational studies are all welcome, provided they are executed with rigor and articulated with clarity. Third, we see music as deeply interdisciplinary. Our scope explicitly includes interfaces between music and physics, psychology, medicine, technology, philosophy, education, and creativity. In doing so, we position Rust as a home for research that doesn't fit easily into narrow disciplinary containers, but is central to understanding music as a human practice. Feature directions, actually, from solid journal to, if I summarize in just one sentence, from solid journal to reference point. However, if we are honest, being a good journal in 2025 is not enough. The question we now must face is, what does it mean for Rast Muzikoloji Journal to be a truly leading journal in our field over the next decade? Let me outline several directions that will guide our editorial strategy. The first one is deepening epistemic diversity and decentering the canon. We will continue, actually, and intensify our commitment to cross-cultural and decolonial musicology. That means actively encouraging submissions that address underrepresented musical cultures, particularly from regions and communities that have historically been absent from mainstream musicological publishing. Supporting work that critically interrogates canons, categories, and inherited historiographies, including those internal to Turkish and Middle Eastern music studies. Exploring bilingual or multilingual abstract policies and targeted calls for papers that broaden the geographical and epistemic diversity of our author base. Our goal is not merely to include different musics, but to allow them to reshape the questions musicology asks. And the second one for our editorial strategy is raising the bar for methodology and open science. As a top-tier journal, we must advance not only what we know about music, but how we know it in the coming years. We will encourage more explicit methodological transparency, clear descriptions of sampling, analytical strategies, transcription practices, statistical procedures, and reflexive positioning. Move toward data and materials available to statements wherever ethically and legally possible, particularly for empirical, computational, and experimental studies. Explore formats such as registered reports for music cognition, performance science, and pedagogy research, where study design is peer-reviewed prior to data collection. support the integration of digital humanities and the music information retrieval approach that leverage large corpora, algorithmic analysis, and visualizations tools while remaining grounded in musicological questions. In short, we want Rast to be a place where rigorous methodology and imaginative theorization coexist. The third, responsible integration of AI and digital tools. Our AI policy is only a first step, actually. As AI STEM systems increasingly shape listening practices, composition, curation, and even scholarly analysis, RAS aims to be a leading firm for critical scholarship on AI and music. So we will invite work that scrutinizes AI generated sound recommendation algorithms and digital platforms as size of musical production and power. Continue to refine our AI transparency standards, balancing the creative affordances of these tools with the need to preserve human responsibility for scholarly claims. Encourage reflective pieces on research ethics in the age of big data, machine listening, and digital archives. Our position actually is clear. AI can assist scholarship, but it can't substitute for scholarly judgment. The fourth one is investing in early career scholars and the culture of peer review. Ross has already stated in its peer review policies that it sees the review process as part of the education of young music researchers. So we intend to push this further by strengthening reviewer guidelines and offering optional reviewer training resources so that reports are constructive, specific, and pedagogically useful, encouraging editors and reviewers to treat each manuscript not only as a text to be judged, but as a researcher to be developed, while still maintaining high standards and the non-negotiable right to reject. Exploring formats such as editorial symposia, methodological essays, and how-to pieces that directly address the craft of musicological research and writing. Finally, we will continue to refine our governance and transparency, keeping our ethical and publication policies as living documents regularly updated in line with COP guidance and developments in the international publishing standards, maintaining the independence of editorial decisions from any commercial or institutional pressures, as already articulated in our publisher-editor relationship. Expanding and diversifying our editorial and advisory boards to reflect the global community we serve. Deepening partnership with conferences, societies, and researchers networks. The others who entrust us with their work, the reviewers who give their time and expertise, the board members who guide our policies, and the readers who animate our pages with their teaching and research. Actually, you are Rast Muzikoloji Journal. Our task as an editorial team is to ensure that this journal matches your ambitions, that it becomes a place where the demanding peer review, ethical integrity, methodological innovation, and genuine openness meet. A place where musicological knowledge is not only archived, but actively made, contested, and reimagined. All in all, I invite you to think of Rast Muzikoloji Journal not simply as a journal to submit to, but as a collective project to build from our specific histories and geographies, a journal that can stand confidently among the leading venues of international musicology. I do thank you for listening me.
Thank you very much, Fırat.